Cricket. We are here for the introduction of the new management team of the national team. And of course, it's happy to have you guys here. After 2 years, we are meeting on physical terms. Due to the COVID and stuff, it was almost virtual that we did have all the press conferences and media conferences. And I'm going to first introduce the head table, and after that it will be Q&A session. Of course, these three gentlemen, you all already know who they are. I mean, there is no need of a special introduction, but as a matter of fact, I will just do an introduction. We do have Chris Silverwood, the new head coach of the Sri Lanka national team, and of course, he was the former England men's head coach, and he's joining right after his stint with the England men's, and he was the bowling coach when England won the 50-over World Cup in 2019, and he have represented England in both Test and ODIs. And of course, one of his highlights also Essex. He has led Essex to win the county championship in 2017 after a lapse of 25 years. And we do have Naveed Nawaz, who played for Sri Lanka both in Test and ODIs. And we do have his highlight, of course, more recently, he's renowned for coaching the Bangladesh under-19 team for a World Cup victory and did have a successful stint with Bangladesh. And now he joins right after his Bangladesh stint is over. And we also have Mahinda Halangoda, the team manager, and he was the former Sri Lanka A captain and managed the under-19 and emerging teams of Sri Lanka on several occasions. He was the manager of Sri Lanka under-19 team when the team reached the quarterfinals of the concluded under-19 World Cup, and he joins the national team. So we do have all three, the newcomers into the national side. Now we are going for the Q&A session, and as usual, who is going to ask the first question, please raise your hands. Yes, Sadi Taufik from Daily FD. Yeah.
Hi, Chris. You were the coach of the England team when they last arrived to Sri Lanka, and Joe Root's team, they beat us 0-2. Being in seeing the opposition, I mean, you would have planned out, I mean, the Sri Lankans, how to get them out. So now being the coach of Sri Lanka, what shortcomings do you see in the Sri Lankan team that you need to improve?
I was, and obviously one of the things I did bring with me was obviously my notes that I brought with me when I was with England. You'll be looking at the batting, so we want more discipline in the batting, more patience in the batting, and some intent to score as well. I mean, it is all about scoring runs, and that's what I want the batting lineup to do. So that's one of the things I'll be trying to do, is instill the confidence into the boys, so they can go out there, construct innings and score big runs, certainly in the first innings, and give us something to bowl at. It's something that I'm sure you guys have spoken about already amongst the press, but it's not rocket science. It's just trying to get that confidence into the boys to put those runs on the board for us.
Aravinda from Lanka, Deepak.
Welcome, Chris. Usually, any professional would do their homework before taking up any sort of an assignment. So, as you applied for the coaching job of Sri Lanka, what are the things that you evaluate, and what are the things that persuaded you to take up the job? As you applied for the coaching job in Sri Lanka, what are the things that you evaluated in the Sri Lankan team, and what are the points that persuaded you to take up the job?
Okay, so the points that I looked at was, one, I mean, could I make a difference here? And I believe I can. Having seen the talent Having seen the talent, obviously, from an opposition point of view that I know we have in this team, it excited me, not only across the Test format, but a white ball format as well, having played against Sri Lanka in the white ball format. I think we can make a difference, obviously, with the batsmen, trying to instill the confidence that we've just talked about, but equally, I think I can help the bowlers. Obviously, that's my specialist department, so I know I can help the bowlers in that way. And equally, I believe if we push the national team on, we can climb up the rankings and we can get back to that dominance force that Sri Lanka once was. But equally, I want to put a Sri Lankan flair on that as well. I want the boys to be able to express themselves, and I don't want them to be anybody else. I want them to be themselves and fly the flag for Sri Lanka. So for me, one of the challenges for that was obviously the communication. I had to make sure that the plans that I'm trying to put in place I can get across to the boys properly, and obviously Naveed helps me brilliantly with that so far. Equally, I've got to be aware that, I mean, the way I see things is not always the way someone else sees it, so I've got to be aware of how culture works as well. And I had good experience of that in Zimbabwe when I worked out in Zimbabwe. So I think, I mean, all in all, what we've got here is very exciting, and I think I can make a difference to it. And ultimately, that is what made me want to take the job, to come out here and try and make a difference.
Naveed, you can go ahead with your question. Please pass the mic.
Chris, welcome to Sri Lanka. Before you, it was Mickey Arthur, the Sri Lankan coach. He had a very strict fitness regime as the head coach. What would be your standards when you take up the role?
I've heard a lot about fitness while I've been here, and obviously it's been a real topic of conversation. I'd like to just reframe it a little bit, and let's look at it from a different point of view. Why do we do fitness? Fitness is there to help you perform over a long period of time. It's there to help a team perform over a long period of time in what is a very congested cricket calendar. So for me, it's about giving the players the best chance of longevity and giving Sri Lanka the best chance of, I mean, success over a long period of time over 3 formats. If you look at how much cricket the multi-format players play, it is a lot. And we've got 4 back-to-back tests coming up. We have got a lot of cricket in Sri Lanka, and we all know, we've seen today, the sun beating down is hard work. So it just highlights why we actually try and do the fitness. It's not for me, it's for the players to help themselves and to help, ultimately, to help the team, because team always comes first.
Yeah, you can ask, yes.
We know that we are going to play 4 test matches back-to-back, as you said, but one of the biggest problems for Sri Lanka was the dot ball percentage, especially in limited overs cricket. Have you recognized that fault in some of the batters, and what have you seen so far from the current lot?
I certainly have recognised that. It's one of the things that we've talked about before I came here. So I've spent the last couple of weeks just digging through stats, looking at how we can improve that. And I think one of them is the intent to score. We have to give the batsman the confidence to go out there and not fear getting out and have that intent to score, because with the intent to score comes a rotation of strike and comes a boundaries as well. That's not to say we're going to be reckless. What I'm saying is we need to bring smart into that as well. But I do want them to be positive. I want them to be brave. And I want them to impose themselves on the game. And I think if we go out with that attitude, we'll see the dot ball percentage go down and the strike rates go up, which can only be a good thing. And that's what we'll be trying in training as well. I've encouraged the guys to be very specific when they train, have a think about who they're going to come up against, and practice to suit those situations. So rather than just training on a broad scale, every time you come out of that net, you come out a better player than you went in. And to do that, you have to consider what challenges you're going to have in front of you, and then go experiment, find a way, make your strengths stronger, and obviously work on the things that you may not be as strong at, but ultimately make your strengths stronger.
Danushka, you can ask from Daily News.
Chris, how do you feel about the Sri Lankan present performance of the players? Because now you already involved with the players in nearly 1 week. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the Sri Lankan players' performance so far? You already involved with the 1 week with the players, I think.
Yeah, I have. I've been here 2 weeks now. It was, I mean, obviously first week just trying to get on the inside, trying to get to know the guys. This week I've seen a real improvement in the way they have trained. I've seen an improvement in their shot selection, the way they have gone about their business in the nets, from a batting point of view. And what I have seen is I've specifically challenged the test bowlers to be hot on their first 12 balls, because we all know that the first 12 balls you can make a real impact of your spell, as well as pushing the pressure back onto the batsman. What I have noticed is they've responded really well to that. They responded really well to the fielding drills that we've been doing, and I can't knock their work ethic when it comes to cricket. I mean, they've been enthusiastic and really, sort of dove into everything that we've tried to do so far. So personally, I've been really pleased with how the boys have trained and the reception that we've received so far as a new sort of management, really. But the guys have been great.
Sachin, you can ask.
Hi Chris, welcome to Sri Lanka. As a head coach of Sri Lanka cricket, what's your long-term and short-term plans for Sri Lanka cricket in future?
Well, long term is obviously to rise up the rankings and compete with the best teams in the world and compete. Obviously, we've got 2 World Cups coming up. We want to compete in them. Short term, we have to obviously start with the philosophy of how we want to play, instill that into the players and give them an opportunity to grow into that. I'm not going to tell you it's going to happen straight away because that is unrealistic and it won't happen that way. But what we can do is instill the way of thinking over a period of time, grow the confidence, and that is the first stage of obviously a long-term goal. So we'll start with that and work our way through.
Do you have any idea of Sri Lanka cricket domestic structure and that ongoing tournaments, or will you hope do some changes on domestic cricket structure?
I've not looked at domestic cricket yet. I don't really see it as my job to be changing things like that, and I'll respectively leave that to the people, but it is their job.
Danushka, you can ask.
Hi Chris, Danushka, Cricket Info. You mentioned earlier about looking to help the bowlers in particular, and that's obviously you've got great experience with that. So I just want to know, could you maybe elaborate a little bit? You spoke about the hot first 12 balls for the test fast bowlers, and the second part of the question is, for the Bangladesh tour, we don't have Dushman Chamira, we don't have Lahiru Kumara, and we don't have Suranga Lakmal, who's just retired. So it's a pretty newish fast bowling lineup, very young lineup. So I was just wondering what plans you got in place, and have you looked into that?
Yeah, we have. I mean, excuse me, the plans are already in place. What we're going to look at doing out in Bangladesh. As a team, when we all get together, we will go through them. But I think from a bowling perspective, it's instilling the discipline that we can do good things for long periods of time and not getting bored of doing them. So hitting your line of length, finding top of off on any given pitch and being able to live there. And then you bring in the skills of wobble seam, swinging it. All our guys can swing it, which is great because we need movement as well. So it's just bringing all those skills together and being disciplined enough to live in one area for long enough that you can wear the opposition down if need be. And equally, what are our plan Bs? I mean, do we go to the bouncers? It's all right having a plan B, but you've then got to have the skills to deliver them. So this is what we're working on in the nets. And again, it will be a gradual process. Just because I say it doesn't mean everybody's going to be able to do it. But if you sow the seed and let it grow, over a period of time, you will find that people can do it, and you will gel together as a bowling attack. And it's not just the seams; it's the spinners as well. I mean, they are a bowling unit, and they will have to work together at times. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
It was just generally about
Bangladesh.
and because it's a very new team, so
That's it.
it's a new bowling lineup. Do you consider that maybe an advantage just to work with the young guys so early on in your?
Yeah, I do actually, yeah. I mean, from my point of view, it's the fact that they're young means that they will take on information very quickly, they'll be eager to have a go at things and maybe try new things as well, and maybe not so set in their ways. And the response I've got from the bowlers that we've been working with in the last 2 weeks has been excellent. And I've got to say I've really enjoyed working with them. And I'm seeing good results so far. And if we can keep growing that, then hopefully you'll see that on the field as well over a period of time.
Sorry, you can ask your second question.
Chris, termination of your contract soon after the Ashes, did it sort of surprise you or do you see it coming?
To be honest, I enjoyed a break after the Ashes. I'm not going to lie. That was a tough trip. So I had a couple of months off, and then typically me being me, I started getting itchy feet and wanted to get back into work. So when the opportunity came along, it was one of those that you didn't have to think too much about to actually think this is a great opportunity for me and I have to get back into it. So, I felt honoured that Sri Lanka came and asked, and privileged to be able to take the role as well. So it's, yes, had a nice break, refreshed the brain, rested. I feel refreshed now here.
Ranjika, you can ask.
Hi Chris, welcome to Sri Lanka. And so I would like to take your attention towards the World Cup that is coming up in Australia. So what do you think the preparation will be, and how do you think Sri Lanka should approach going to Australia and competing in the World Cup in a very successful way?
Yeah, I mean, there's many things we've talked about already. So you look at the grounds that you're going to be playing on. I mean, wherever long boundaries, short boundaries, what bowlers are you likely to face, and then again, what tactics are bowlers likely to use. So we've looked at all that, and I've spoken to the white ball specialist today, and just said, start having a think about. I mean, obviously you're going to have deep boundaries. Bowlers will be trying to make you hit into those pockets. How are you going to combat that? How are you going to bring the dot ball percentages down? How can you rotate the strike? So again, it's sowing the seeds so they can, when they go into the nets, have something to think about and something to work on. So again, being real specific what we're trying to do. And then hopefully, by the time you've gone through the process, you reach Australia, nothing will surprise you, and you will have something in your armoury to be able to fight back with.
Danushka, you can ask.
Question to Naveed. Naveed, welcome to the Sri Lankan coaching staff. Now, in your younger days, you had the services of legendary coaches like Van Silva and so on. So, how do you reckon the coaching system? I mean, compared to those days and today, is there a big change, or is it basic remains the same, or how do you reckon about it?
Well, thank you. I think there's a massive change in the coaching system altogether if you compare in the 1990s and now. And mainly you can see the coaches are now more hands-on, helping the players, like, throwing balls and, with the bat, getting into fielding and things like that. Whereas during our time, it was more of a mentoring, I would say, more than coaching, and also more into organizing the arrangements for the players and helping them. Like, we had so many other difficulties while we were playing cricket in the 90s. So the coach's role was totally different. It's like a facilitation and mentoring and things like that. Whereas now it's a performance era. So the coaches will have to be more updated and more sort of hands-on with the players, helping them and walk with them on the journey, I would say.
Rex Clementine from Ireland, you can ask.
Chris, there's a bit of a thought among local fans that the nation is not short of cricketing talent, but the players sort of lack guidance. As the head coach, what can you do to bring the best out of these players?
Well, I agree, there's no lack of talent. It's everything that we've talked about, really. It's bringing them together to the way that we train, to the way we approach games, to the mentality we have around games, depending on which, obviously, discipline we're in, whether it be Test, T20 or ODIs. But just again, the way that we are training will hopefully breed confidence in the boys, and the fact that they will get support when they get out onto the field will obviously help them fulfil their talent, which is ultimately what we all want to see and what the fans want to see. We want to see these guys out there performing, doing well, celebrating hundreds, fifers, taking great catches, and ultimately winning for Sri Lanka. So it would be a combination of everything that we've spoken about today.
Danushka, you can ask.
මේ ප්‍රශ්නය යොමු කරන්නේ නවීත් නවස්ට. නවීද මේ දැන් ඔබගේ පළවෙනි ඩියුටිය බවට පත්වන්නේ මේ බංග්ලාදේශයට එරෙහිව ටෙස්ට් තරඟාවලිය. දැන් ඔබ කලින් රාජකාරී කර රට ඒ වගේම ඒ තනතිරු පිළිබඳ ඔබට හොඳ අවබෝධයක් ඇති. මේ ටෙස්ට් තරඟ දෙක පැවැත්වෙන තනතිරු පිළිබඳ පොඩි යමක් කියන්න පුළුවන්ද?
බොහොම ස්තුතියි. මම හිතන්නේ අපේ පළවෙනි ටෙස්ට් මැච් එක තියෙන්නේ චිතගොන් වල. චිතගොන් විකට් එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම ඒ විකට් එකේ කලින් අවුරුදු දෙකක් විතර අපි පස්සට ගිහිල්ලා බැලුවොත් ඒ ගොඩක් ටෙස්ට් මැචස් දවස් 5 වෙනි දවසේ අන්තිම සෙෂන් එක වෙනකන් ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. මොකද ඒ විකට් එක සෑහෙන ෆ්ලැට් උදේ පළවෙනි දවසේ විකට් එකේ මොන හරි පොඩි ලයිෆ් එකක් තිබ්බොත් බෝලර්ස්ලට මම හිතන්නේ 2 3 4 වෙනකොට විකට් එක සෑහෙන ෆ්ලැට් වෙනවා. ඉතින් මං හිතන්නේ ටීම් දෙකේම බැටිං වල ලොකු චැලෙන්ජ් එකක් තියෙයි. මොකද අපේ ටීම් එකේ බංග්ලාදේශ ටීම් එකේ දෙකේම ගොඩක් එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් බැට්ස්මන්ලා ඉන්නවා ටීම් එකේ, ස්පෙෂලි රෙඩ් බෝල් ක්‍රිකට් වල. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ බැටල් එක තියෙන්නේ බැටිං වල ලොකු බැටල් එකක් ටීම්ස් දෙකේම බෝලිං පොඩ්ඩක් inexperience. ඉතින් බැටිං වල ලොකු පැත්තක් තියෙයි මේ ගේම් එකේ ඩිසිෂන් එකට එනකොට. ඒ වගේම බංග්ලාදේශ වල මීපුර් වල සෙකන්ඩ් ටෙස්ට් මැච් එක ගහන ඒ විකට් එක ටිකක් ස්ලෝ සයිඩ් ටිකක් ස්ලෝ and පොඩ්ඩක් විකට් එක ටර්න් වෙන්න chance එකක් තියෙනවා. and හැබැයි all in all මං හිතන්නේ බැටිං වලට ගොඩක් බරයි. මේ බංග්ලාදේශ වල ට්‍රැක්ස් බවුන්ස් වැඩි නැහැ, knee height බෝලේ කැපුණත් පොඩ්ඩක් ස්ලෝ ටර්න් එකක් තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් බැට්ස්මන්ලා එන්ජොයි කරයි මං හිතන්නේ බංග්ලාදේශ වල විකට්ස් ගොඩක් දුරට.
We will go on for a few more questions. Yeah, Danushka can ask another one, yes.
නවිඩයි ඔබට ලාංකිකයෙකු විදියට මේ ලැබුණු අවස්ථාව ගැන මොකද හිතෙන්නේ?
මම ඇත්තටම මම ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් එකේ අවුරුදු 8ක් වැඩ කරා 2008 ඉඳන් 2016 වෙනකම් මම වැඩ කළා. ඉඳලා මම මේ ෆැමිලි ඩිසිෂන් එකක් අරගෙන මම මයිග්‍රේට් කරා ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවට මගේ ෆැමිලි එකත් එක්ක. ඉතින් ඊට පස්සේ තමයි මම බංග්ලාදේශ ක්‍රිකට් එකත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වුණේ. මම මගේ හැමදාම හිතේ ආසාවක් තිබ්බා ලංකාවට ඇවිල්ලා වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ. මොකද මෙතන මේ ටීම් එකේ වුණත් මම ගොඩක් පොඩි කාලේ කෝච් කරපු ළමයි සෑහෙන ප්‍රමාණයක් ඉන්නවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ හොඳට දන්නවා. ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ගොඩක් පොඩි කාලේ ගහපු ක්‍රිකට් එකේ ඉඳන් මම ගොඩක් ඒගොල්ලන්ව ස්ටඩි කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ හින්දා මට ඇත්තටම මේක ලොකු ඔපචුනිටි එකක් මට. ඒ වගේම මේ මට ලොකු ආඩම්බරයක් මගේ රටට ඇවිල්ලා මේ වගේ කෝචින් රෝල් එකක් අරගෙන මට කරන්න ලැබීම. මම ඒක සෑහෙන සීරියස්ලි ගන්නවා. මේක මගේ තියෙන හැම ශක්තියක්ම දීලා ඒක හොඳට කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Yeah, hello Naveed. On your left, welcome home. I mean, you were initially supposed to come in as the head coach. You have now ended up as the assistant coach. Is it a sense of disappointment, or how do you take it?
Well, no. I mean, it's a great opportunity, and it's lovely to be working with somebody like Chris, who's got a wealth of experience working in England. And I would take this as an opportunity. Obviously, yes, I applied for the head coach role. But as I told you, I mean, I would still take this as an opportunity, and as long as both of us are in the same page, and back of my mind, the end motive is to bring Sri Lanka cricket its lost glory. That's all that matters to me.
Your designation reads as assistant coach. What exactly? Meaning, do you also come in as a batting coach, fielding, etc., or how?
Yes, that's the dual duty in my role currently, assisting Chris to execute his vision and Sri Lanka cricket's vision, and also looking after the batting in the team.
Sadi, you can ask.
Naveed, this is the first time you are coaching the senior national side. What have you identified the roles that you have to play in these 2 years that you are going to be working with Chris?
Yes, Sadi. I mean, I have worked with these boys for the last 2 weeks now, but I have known these boys for some time now. And also for the last couple of years, which I have not been at Sri Lanka cricket, I've also been following most of these players, watching them play and all that. So I obviously, when I came in, I had back of my mind what was lacking and what needs to be installed in them, what sort of disciplines that they need to get their skills into a global level. So answering your question, yes, obviously, it's a part of it would be to act as a mentor, a friend, and also at the same time drill into them the commitment and the technical and tactical changes that they need to do for the betterment of their individual game. So yeah, it's a wide role that I have, I believe, and also a part of it is along with Chris trying to see what best looking at the future series coming up for us, how we could best prepare the boys going into the World Cups that are coming this year as well as next year.
So I'll be going for 3 more questions. First, Damit, you can take that.
Naveed, දැන් ක්‍රිස්සුත් කියපු දෙයක් තමයි මේ කමියුනිකේෂන් ගැප් එක විශේෂයෙන්ම ෆොරින් කෝච් කෙනෙකුයි ලෝකල් ප්ලේයර්ස්ලා අතර ඔබ එතන මැදිහත් කරුවෙක් විදිහට වැඩ කරද්දී කොයි වගේ රෙස්පොන්සිබිලිටි එකක්ද තියෙන්නේ මේ කමියුනිකේෂන් ගැප් එක වහලා දාන්න විශේෂයෙන්ම ප්ලේයර්ස්ලාගෙන් උයි කෝචින් ස්ටාෆ් එකෙන්
කමියුනිකේෂන් කියලා කිව්වම මම හිතන්නේ ක්‍රිස් මීන් කරේ ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාව ඩිරෙක්ට් කමියුනිකේෂන් එකක් පිළිබඳව නෙමෙයි මුලින්ම කමියුනිකේෂන් වල තියෙන ක්ලැරිටි එක ගැන මම හිතන්නේ අපි හරි වැදගත් අපි ප්ලේයර්ස්ලාට කතා කරනකොට අපි ඒගොල්ලන්ට මොකද්ද කියන්නේ ඒ වගේම ඒගොල්ලන්ගෙන් අපිට එන ෆීඩ්බැක් අපෙන් ඒගොල්ලන්ට යන ෆීඩ්බැක් ඒවා ටික හරි ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකකට හදන එක ඒක තමයි මම හිතන්නේ ක්‍රිස් මේ දවස් ටිකේම ඇවිල්ලා කරේ අපි ඔක්කොම කරන්න හදන්නේ so that to minimize the grievances in the players ලාට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න පුළුවන් තරම් අඩු කරගෙන ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ගේම් එකට ඒගොල්ලොන්ට දාන්න පුළුවන් එනර්ජි එක වැඩියෙන් දැම්මලා ඒ වගේම ලැන්ග්වේජ් බැරියර් එකක් තියෙනවා නම් yes ඒක බ්‍රිජ් කරන්න මම හිතන්නේ මට ක්‍රිස්ට හෙල්ප් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒක බ්‍රිජ් කරන්න ඒ වගේම අනිත් පැත්තෙන් අනිත් කමියුනිකේෂන් මෝඩ්ස් ඔය ප්ලේයර්ස් ලාගේ තියෙන ටෙක්නිකල් ටැක්ටිකල් ඉෂුස් වගේම තව ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ පර්සනල් දේවල් ඒ හැම කමියුනිකේෂන් එකකටම platform එකක් හදලා ඒ ඔක්කොම ස්මූත්ලි කරන්න මම හිතන්නේ මිස්අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩින්ග්ස් අඩුයි ඒ වගේම අපි ටීම් එකක් හැටියට සෙල්ලම් කරන්න හදනකොට මම හිතන්නේ ඒක හරි ඉම්පෝටන්ට් ටීම් එකේ යුනිටි එක තියාගන්නයි අපි එක ෆැමිලි එකක් හැටියට ඉස්සරහට සෙල්ලම් කරලා රටට මොන හරි ලොකු ගෞරවයක් අත් කළා දෙන්න.
Aravinda, you can ask. I get more than 3 questions, so let's try to.
Chris, you said you had a long-term goal as going up in the rankings, basically in all 3 formats. Now, if you want to go up in the rankings, it's important to win overseas. So you being a fast bowler, to win overseas, we need to have a good, sound fast bowling unit. You being a fast bowler, what is the most important thing, and the factor that you look at to improve in the fast bowling department?
Firstly, discipline. It's if you have pace, it's great. But if you can live in a good area and extract bounce and movement out of a wicket at 90 mile an hour, then it's very useful. And obviously, we've seen with the bowling attack that I worked with before, you don't have to be 90 mile an hour to be successful fast bowlers. What you do have to have is discipline to be able to live in a good area time and time again. All the best fast bowlers in the world find top of off on any given wicket. And they have the ability to live there and to wear the batsman down, as well as being able to get movement out of pitches that are difficult to get movement out of. And then when you're abroad, using the Duke's ball, obviously when we're over in England, places like that, the guys here I've already seen have got skills with the kookaburra. The one thing that we used to always look at is, right, how do we teach our guys in England to bowl with the kookaburra? Well, it'd be a lot easier to teach them to bowl with the Dukes, to be honest. It stays in shape longer, it swings for longer, it stays harder for longer, and it obviously got a pronounced seam. So if we can get the disciplines right, then if it moves, you're in the game. If it doesn't move, you're still in the game. But what you can do is you can control the game then. If you have a battery of fast bowlers travelling around the world, then it gives you the best opportunity to win. And obviously backed up with what we have, some very good spinners. So again, it's nothing that you guys have never thought of before, but it's just actually better put that into practice. And to do that, we have to make sure that we're doing it in the nets. And we have to make sure we have the right mindset. But actually, every time you pick a ball up, you're thinking about how you're going to get better and how you're going to achieve in the countries that we go into. So to me, again, it's just attention to detail more than anything. So let's make sure that we have that.
Danushka, can you ask?
Apologies if this is something you might have covered earlier, but with this particular Sri Lankan outfit, or when Mickey Arthur, the previous coach, left, it wasn't necessarily due to bad results as much as it's just sort of petered out, and there was a general upward trajectory. Have there been any conversations between you and Mickey since you took on the job about where the team was doing well, and then on top of that, are there any areas that you might have come to the conclusion, okay, these are particular areas that I need to target?
The answer is yes. I've spoken to a lot of people that have worked here before. That was the first thing I did. Obviously, we've got Trevor, Paul Farbrace, Mickey Arthur, Grant Flower. We've got a whole host of people that I know that have worked here before. It'd have been silly of me not to speak to them and to actually find out what their views were, how they found things, get to know a little bit about the players and their insight that they had on players. Obviously, I'm not going to go into specifics about what people said to me. Obviously, I would never betray that confidence. But I can assure you that I did a lot of homework before I got here. Before I said yes to the job, I'd already done a lot of homework because it was something that I wanted to do, but I needed to make sure that firstly it was right for me, and secondly I could actually make a difference if I came here. So I did do my homework.
I'm getting more and more questions, but of course I'll take another 4 more questions. Daily Mirror, you can ask.
So as mentioned earlier, we have 4 tests coming up in quick succession. So Sri Lanka's probably most impressive fast bowler over the last year, Dushmantha Chamira, is unavailable for the current series. And has there been any communication of whether he'd be in contention for selection in the red ball format going ahead, or would he be out of action until the T20 World Cup?
I'm afraid that would be a question for the selectors and the medical staff, and somebody, obviously I have to work closely with them. So I can't say too much at the moment, but the more fast bowlers I have available to me, the happier I'll be.
Has there been any communication in that regard?
That's between us and the medical teams at the moment, and the selectors, so thank you.
Naveed, ඔබ ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් කණ්ඩායම සමග මේ ඉන්න ක්‍රීඩකින් සමග ගොඩාක් කාලෙකින් වැඩ කරලා තියෙනවා. දැන් ඔබ ජාතික කණ්ඩායමක පුහුණුකරුවෙක් විදිහට වැඩ කරන්නේ පළවෙනි පාරට. කොයි වගේ අභියෝගයක්ද මේක ඔබේ කෝචින් කරියකට ඒක සක්සස් කරගන්න මොකක්ද ඔබේ තිබෙන සැලසුම්?
මම පළවෙනි පාරට මම ජාතික කණ්ඩායමේ පුහුණුකරුවෙක් හැටියට වැඩ කරන්නේ. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ මගේ රෝල්ස් දෙකක් තියෙනවා මට මේ ජොබ් එකේ කරන්න ඇසිස්ටන්ට් කෝච් හැටියටයි ළඟ පිටිකරණ පුහුණුකරුවෙක් හැටියටයි. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ මේ දෙකේ තියෙන සක්සස් එක බලාගෙන තමයි මම වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ. මේන්ලි මම හිතන්නේ පිටිකරණය පිළිබඳව ෆෝමැට්ස් 3ක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ෆෝමැට්ස් 3 ප්ලේයර්ස් ලගේ තියෙන ගැප්ස් ටික අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරලා ඒ ගැප්ස් ටික කොහොමද ෆිල් කරන්නේ කියලා ටැක්ටිකලි තියෙන ගැප්ස් ටිකයි ඒ වගේම ටෙක්නිකල් තියෙන ගැප්ස් ටිකයි ෆිල් කරලා ඒ රෝල් එකේ ඉම්ප්‍රූව්මන්ට් එකක් ගන්න මගේ බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවා. ඔල්රෙඩි පටන් අරන් තියෙනවා. ඒක මම ගිය සති දෙකේ ඉඳන් තාම අපි වයිට් බෝල් ප්ලේයර්ස්ලත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන්න පටන් ගත්තේ නෑ. රෙඩ් බෝල් ක්‍රිකටර්ස්ලත් එක්ක තමයි අපි පටන් ගත්තේ. ඉතින් ගොඩක් ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ප්ලේයර්ස් ලගේ මෙන්ටල් සයිඩ් එකයි ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ තින්කින් පැටර්න්ස් ඒ වගේ දේවල් ගැන මට තාම කල්මදී සති දෙකකින් මට ඒක මුළුමනින්ම ඇබ්සෝබ් කරගන්න ටිකක් අමාරුයි. ටිකක් කල් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මම ඒගොල්ලොත් එක්ක පොඩ්ඩක් ළඟින් කතා කරගෙන ඒගොල්ලෝ කොහොමද හිතන්නේ ඒ දේවල් ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් ස්ටඩි කරගෙන යනවා. මම හිතනවා මේ මගේ එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් එකත් එක්ක මම හිතනවා මට මේක හොඳින් කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා.
මේ ප්‍රශ්නය යොමු කරන්නේ මහින්ද අලංගොඩ මහත්මයා. මේ රොෂෙන් සිල්ලා සම්බන්ධයෙන් යම් මතභේදාත්මක තත්ත්වයක් මතුවලා තිබෙනවා. ඔව් සංචිතයෙන් ඉවත් වුණේ මොන කාරණාවින්ද කියලා පොඩ්ඩක් පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරන්න පුළුවන්?
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි මීඩියා රිලීස් එකක් දාලා තිබුණා. ඒකේ තිබුණා නේද he has been opted out of the squad කියලා. ඒකයි. මම හිතන්නේ ඔබතුමා ඒක
එයා හිටියා සංචිතයේ. එනකොට ඒකට පස්සේ එයා එංගලන්තයට ගිහිල්ලා තිබ්බා. ඉතින් පස්සේ සිලෙක්ටර්ස්ලා කියලා තිබ්බා එයාව සිලෙක්ට් කරලා තියෙනවා. එයාට ලංකාවට එන්න කියලා මේක ජොයින් කරන්න. ඉතින් එයාට මම හිතන්නේ හොඳ කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එකක් හම්බෙලා තියෙනවා ඉංග්ලන්ඩ් වල. ඉතින් එයා මම හිතන හැටියට එයා ඩිසයිඩ් කරලා තියෙනවා ඒකේ ඒ කොන්ට්‍රැක්ට් එක මේව කරලා කන්ටිනියු කරන්න.
නවීඩ් ටච් කරා ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේ මෙන්ටල් ඇස්පෙක්ට් එක ගැන වාට පොඩ්ඩක් කල්යයි කියලා එක්සප් කරන්න මේ හැමෝගෙම අපි දැන් බැලුවොත් අපි ඒක මේ කොන්ෆිඩන්ස් ගැනවා කතා කරා ඉස්සෙල්ලා තුන් මේ even Chris also spoke about confidence so confidence එක හැදෙන්න අපි කන්සිඩර් කරන මෙන්ටල් ඇස්පෙක්ට් එකත් එක්ක අපි ඒක දැකලා තියෙනවා අපි මේ common belief එක තමයි spectatorsලා followersලාගේ that ලංකාවේ ටීම් එකට මෙන්ටල් ඇස්පෙක්ට් එක ගැන වැඩි attention දෙන්නව මදි කියලා. ඒක ඔය agree වෙනවද නැත්නම් ඒ agree වෙනවා නම් ඒක rectify කරන්න මොන වගේ දේවල්ද ඔයා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ?
ඔව් මං හිතන්නේ අපි මම වත් එක totally agree වෙනවා. ඒක ලංකාවට විතරක් නෙමෙයි ගොඩක් රටවල් වල mental side එක touch කරනවා අඩුයි. මොකද ගොඩක් අය මේ game එක හොඳට study කරලා බැලුවා නම් මේ game එක about 60-70% mental abilities වලින් දුවන game එකක් කියලා හැමෝම agree වෙලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපි net එකේ train කරන වෙලාවයි අපේ mind එක train කරන වෙලාවයි බැලුවහම ඒක match වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි ඒකට තියෙන ලොකුම ගැටලුව තමයි මම හිතන්නේ හරියට mental aspect එක player කෙනෙක්ව train කරන්න ඉන්න experts ලා ලෝකේ කොහෙවත් අඩුයි. ගොඩක් අතොලස්සක් තමයි ඉන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ පළවෙනි challenge එක වෙයි මම හිතන්නේ හොඳ එක්කෙනෙක් හොයාගන්න එක. අනික ඒ වගේම coaches ලට පුළුවන් ඒගොල්ලෝ psychology පැත්තෙන් specialist ලා නොවුනත් coaches ලට පුළුවන් ගොඩක් ඒ mental පැත්තෙන් players ලට උදව් කරන්න. මොකද ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ තියෙන experience එකයි ඒගොල්ලෝ players ලත් එක්ක වැඩ කරලා තියෙන past experience එකත් එක්කයි යම් තාක් දුරකට players ලට ඒ වගකීම ගන්න පුළුවන් coaches ලට ඒ වගකීම ගන්න පුළුවන් players ලාව handle කරන්න. හැබැයි දැන් ලෝකේ අනිත් රටවල් ගත්තොත් ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාව එංගලන්තේ වගේ රටවල් ගත්තොත් ඒගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් psychologists ලාව use කරනවා මේ පැත්ත කරන්න. නමුත් මායි ක්‍රිස් එක්ක මම ගොඩක් දෙතුන් පාරක්ම ওই subject එක ගැන කතා කරා. මම හිතන්නේ ක්‍රිස්ටත් දැන් ඇවිල්ලා සති දෙකක් හින්දා එයාත් මම හිතන්නේ ස්ටඩි කරගෙන ඉන්නවා ඇති ඕක කොහොමද ඉස්සරහට කරන්න කියලා හැමදේම එකපාරට කරන්න බැරි හින්දා ඒ හින්දා ඒක ඒරියා එකක් මම හිතන්නේ අපි බලාගෙන ඉන්නේ කොහොමද ඒ චැලෙන්ජ් එකක් ආවොත් කොහොමද ඒක හරි මාර්ගයට යොමු කරලා හරි එක්කෙනෙක්ව ගෙනල්ලා ඒ එතනට attention එක දෙන්න ඕනේ.
Final question Dhammika Ratnavira.
Chris, I want to find out now, Sri Lanka Test captain Dimuth Karunaratne presently away in England playing county cricket. Then our consultant coach Mahela Jayawardena, I think, is in Mumbai, Indians coach. Did they contact you openly to discuss after you come back here for the training?
Obviously, Dimuth is at Yorkshire at the moment, playing his county cricket. I think it'd be a great opportunity for him. And I think, it'd be nice for him to get some runs there during this game against Essex coming up. To actually bring to Bangladesh and bring some confidence with him, with runs under his belt. Obviously, those decisions were made before our imposed, so you have to respect them. But I'm looking forward to meeting up with him in Bangladesh and getting to know him better. We're in communication via WhatsApp, and we've had a couple of telephone calls just to get to know each other a little bit, really, before he lands. But I'm looking forward to sitting down with a coffee and having a good chat with him when we're in Bangladesh and getting to know him a lot better. I know he's got a lot of respect amongst the boys, and I'm looking forward to trying to drive a test team forward with him at the helm.